appraiser, so she just has like a very, very, very in-depth knowledge of why this home is a comp versus this is not a comp from an appraiser's background, and then translating that into real estate. She's just incredibly knowledgeable and always so willing to come help us talk about CMAs. I just want to give, whenever you're ready to plug that in, I just kind of want to give a little bit of, did everybody receive the text that I sent from the main TPG channel yesterday about CMAs and like, come to this training tomorrow? Do you guys see that we're rolling out the 101, 201, 301 level? Do you guys, who did not see that? Okay, great. So we'll now have you will know based on just kind of like your interpretation of where you're at with your level of understanding. You will know essentially what trainings are really, really important, what is more foundational, what is more intermediate kind of level, and then what's going to be a very advanced topic. So I'm very excited for that. As a, just kind of like a future forecast to what we're doing right now, obviously we're training on the foundations of CMAs right now because it's incredibly important that we really just understand the basics. But in a couple of weeks, we are going to be completely revamping and well, I guess creating an SOP, a standard operating procedure, for how you present a CMA to a client. Like literally page by page, what do you say? How do you interpret this data? How are you leveraging that to make sure that when you get to the end of your CMA and you have this price range, they're like, where do I sign? We saw some unbelievable CMA presentations in the listing value proposition tests. So that's where this is coming from. It's coming from like a whole, just like pulling from a whole bunch of different people on the team to direct us on how to make that, again, an SOP. So that's where we're going. Make sure, like if you are in the industry anytime less than a year, prioritize this. If you are in the industry less than 2 years, make sure you are coming to the intermediary and the advanced. If you have been in the industry for 3+ years, the advanced stuff like the topics, the SOP classes in a couple of weeks, be there for that, for sure. Cool? Cool. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Go, Jules.
Ready. Hi. I wish Tanya was here because she's awesome. Oh, hi, there you are. How are you?
Hey.
Tanya is a current appraiser, and she's tied into the appraising world, which we were talking about it, and all of the standard docs are going to be changing with appraisers. The appraising world is kind of in tumult, I guess. Like, it's just like crazy. I don't always use Bible words, you guys. Tumult. But so we as agents are not appraisers, right? And you've had to learn that, right, a little bit. But I like bouncing ideas off Tanya because appraisers look at it in a different way, but we are giving an opinion of value in a CMA, but we are also giving a strategy of how to list a home, how the market will respond to it, and appraisers are not doing that. They have a completely different reason for getting value, a completely different way. They have the contract in front of them, and we might go to a house that has never been sold and we're like, we have nothing to start with. It's all coming from us, which I wish appraisers didn't get the contract, but they do.
Why do you wish that they didn't get the contract?
Because I think that it pushes them in one particular way or another with value, whether or not they can back it, and then they find all of their comps to back what yes. So it's kind of backwards. It's like we're giving you the value, can you support this? Which is okay, but we have to come in and say, okay, seller, we have no history on your house ever selling, and we have to pull a number out of thin air. And so it, I don't know, it feels a little backwards for me. So when would we use a CMA? When would you guys use it? When would you use a listing presentation? For sure. Anything else for any other time? Okay, yeah. Does anybody use CMAs for buyers?
Yes.
Okay, good. How does that help you?
Make sure you're offering something that's competitive and realistic for the area.
Yeah.
And that it's priced right, so.
For sure, especially in this market, we're seeing things change. I loved the information that we get from Michael, but I loved when he presented a couple weeks ago at team meeting that he's like, look at this. Homes are selling for 3% below asking price. So if you're not getting a 3% deal for your buyers, they're overpaying. And maybe there's a house out there that they're like, okay, we're overpaying for. But that kind of information, it's really good to see a CMA and utilize the active, the under contracts, and the solds. When else would you maybe use a CMA? That's it? Yep, yeah, for sure. I update my clients, I try to every year on their CMAs. And I just say, hey, information, Zillow says your house is worth this, I think it's worth this, just so you know. I think that that's really important. Tax, you can also, if they're having like a tax issue where they think that they're being charged too much for taxes or their house is valued too high, typically taxes are low. We're like 10% low, don't you think? That they're valuing like 10 to 20%. They're trying to get closer, but I know. I know. You want it to be worth nothing until you sell it. Okay, so those are reasons that we would do it. What I wanted and what Maggie wanted to focus on today was what constitutes a comparable. What would we use as a comparable? Why would we use that one compared to something else that maybe we wouldn't use? So I have this class on our online stuff, so I don't want to repeat the exact same class. I would like to, because I feel like sometimes we get to the end and there's still questions about what comps we're using and why. So I'm going to kind of speed through this first part. If you're lost, go to the other class online so that we can answer some questions on why I should use certain comparables and why not.
Just a heads up, like a directive, like where to find that stuff, go into TBD stats under resources, under tutorials. Then click on CMA and you'll find Julie's CMA 101 and 201 classes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, so I have a house that is coming on the market. Hopefully they are meeting with the builder next week, because the house started falling down. And so if anybody has a buyer, no, the house is no longer falling down. It's actually more secure than any other house in the neighborhood. It's Toll Brothers. They have really been through the ringer, this seller, and we're having our final inspection next week, and we are going to sell it. And so it's basically a brand new house. So if I get this call, this is a Zillow client. I met with them to do one showing up in the avenues. They decided that they wanted to buy old houses that are standing on foundations that have been around for a long time instead of buying new houses. And so I met them there, and then they told me their story about their house, and then they have another house in Sugar House. So that from that one Zillow call, it was a potential three deal that we're working on. And, they ghosted me for a while, but you just keep going, right? So I get this information that they have a house in Lehigh and all I have is an address. What do I do? Where do I go? Tax data. Yep. So go to your tax data always first, because that's where you'll find your old MLS. It's in Utah County. It's kind of in that nice little, okay, that's it. So Blaine Gunn. Just to give a note, whenever I go to a listing appointment, I always check to see who's the current owner on title. And the tax data sometimes isn't updated for what title would be, but Blaine Gunn, I had no idea who that was. And I did know who Kaylee was, and she's down here somewhere, right here. And so I asked her, I said, there was somebody else on the tax data, Blaine Gunn, is he a seller as well? Is that your dad? Who is that? And the husband was like, oh, that's me. My first name's Blaine and my second name's Renee. And anyway, so really actually know who you're talking to, and that's just aside because we've had lots of title issues. Okay, so there's no MLS data. So I'm starting with nothing. I have no idea, okay? I use Google Maps a lot, or Google Earth, to look at the properties. I like to see what I'm looking at if I've never been there before. Sometimes I'll drive the property before the appointment. I want to be an expert in the area that they're already an expert in. Because especially with a listing appointment, I don't want to start giving them information that they're like, no, that's not correct, right? I don't want to be off on my square footage. I don't want to be off on how much they pay in taxes. I don't want to be off on what school district they're in. They can give me that information, but I don't want to go into it and be like, well, I know that you're in the Skyline School District, and they're like, no, we're in Olympus, or whatever it is. Like, that matters for people who live there and are ingrained in the community. So have your information right, become an expert on it. Okay, so let's go to our search. So I've just copied the address. All I have is the address, and I'm going to go to my search. I would say 99% of the time when I go to a search, even for any property, I use my maps. So get familiar with your maps. So go to your maps. I do the radius tool. How far out does an appraiser go? You just got your test, right? How far out is the radius? A mile, yep. Okay. So a mile out, and then how far back do they go in time?
90 days?
For 90 days. An appraisal will go back 1 year.
They can, so the guidelines are 180 days. And but they can blow the guidelines out of the water, right? Like all they have to do is say, the reason that I'm not sticking with these guidelines is that there's no comps, and that the comps a year ago are more comparable to this than the ones in December, or whatever it is. All they have to do is put a line item in there. So for you are trying to understand this area. You're trying to understand not what happened in 90 days, because think about 90 days ago, okay? So January-ish, right? These houses are coming onto the market, and they've just come out of December, October, November, December. How is the market in October, November, December, Greg?
Not very good.
Yeah, and people get deals, right? The houses that have been sitting on the market for 200 days are finally getting sold in December. I just looked at one that sold for $400,000 under list price on December 22nd. Okay? So, Merry Christmas, yes. So, are those our best comps for a spring market? No. When would be my best comp then for this market? If I'm listing, I'm going to give this CMA to my client next week. We're listing in a week and a half.
Your under contracts, your backups.
Okay.
Some of your actives.
Okay, those are,
Equal 90 days back for the solid, and we pull a separate for backups, under contracts and, active TCs.
love it, love it. What kind of information does your active under contracts give you and backups? What does it give you?
Well, actives is like the price that people want to purchase, like sell their properties at, and then the under contract tells you what they're actually under contract, but you have to make those phone calls, and hopefully the agents give you that information, and then if they're actually sold, well, that sold information is just what's actually on there and what actually people walk away with.
Yeah, but what does the active and under contracts give you in your presentation to your clients?
How the markets are selling.
Yeah. Like what's happening with their competition? Exactly. So look at this neighbor where they're like, well, my neighbor listed for $890, and you're like, well, that doesn't mean your house is worth $890, right? And we say it in a much kinder way. But just because they listed for $890, then you show them that they've been sitting on the market for 90 days. Is their house worth $890? No, the market told them no. Sorry. So you could even go back to solds from a year ago. Like Tanya was saying, we are seeing appraisers utilize market data from a year ago because last spring isn't entirely different from this spring, even if you go back to the stats. Is that right, Michael? Yeah, it's kind of responding the same way. Interest rates are similar. Number of sales are slightly down from last year, and so we're seeing it pretty similar, and they'll use that. Okay, so I have 42.
I just
Oh, go
wanted
ahead.
to give a quick, on the MLS, I just walked a couple of agents through, just a new agents to the team, how to use the MLS, just like a general overview. If you're not going on the MLS and clicking that button on the top right that says stats, right? And exploring all of the tools within that stats, yep, right there. Do it. Like, make sure you go in and you actually understand quarter to quarter, year to year, absorption rates, all of those kinds of things for these things. Just go, give yourself some time, book some time today to go in and study that stuff.
Yep.
It's fascinating information.
Yeah, I think that has been, I've always loved the MLS because I lived on here as an appraiser. But I love what Michael has given us is own the MLS, like make it, this is the data that everybody else can't have, is what's on here. And we have access to it, so really live and breathe by it. Get on the MLS every day, learn how to use it, learn how to use the tools, play around with it. There's really great things on here, and compared to the other MLSs that we have access to, like Park City or St. George, this one is far and above. Okay, so do you see my issue with my map? What kind of issues are you guys seeing? Okay, there might be too many. There's 42 actives. I'm not scared of numbers quite yet, especially if it's under 100. I don't get too scared of numbers because I'm becoming an expert. I'm trying to figure out, because I don't live here. I live in Holiday. I know this area.
Full actives or under contract?
So this is just actives right now. But like what might this map be telling me?
Other neighborhoods that might not correlate with what you're in.
Okay. What else do you see? It's a lot of actives. Do you see an issue over here and over here and over in here? Yeah, I'm in a canyon. So I want to know, are these houses down here that are not in my canyon, are they selling for a different amount? So these are the questions that I'm forming in my mind, because I have to answer them for buyers, I have to answer them for my sellers. Does it matter if I'm up here in the canyon?
Yeah, of course.
Or if I don't know. So I'm going to watch for that. okay? So these are questions that I want to answer in my mind. If there's a house right here, so this is about a mile, or it's probably half a mile because it's going out. So if this is right here, do you think that if there's a comp right here that might be more comparable, I could still maybe use it? Even though my map's not including it? Okay, so expand your search so that you can understand what's going on, okay? And I don't wanna grab these because I feel like we're starting to get into a different market over there. So, welcome to our great MLS. The polygon tool is really good when it works.
I was thinking about how ugly the MLS was, and then there was an agent at Equifax who was telling us that how they were like way worse in other states, so.
Oh yeah, like,
No great call.
yes. Yeah, Park City is ridiculous. It's so bad. Yes. Okay, so my house is, I wanna keep toggling back to my tax data. I even just write notes about what's going on. So my house, was built in 2020, okay? It's essentially new right now because it just got rebuilt, basically. How much square footage do I have in this house? Yeah, it's a Rambler.
I think at the bottom has a real design of the property, because I think right now what you're looking at is like above property square footage is the only thing that it always shows.
Okay,
There's two figures, one
okay.
ground and then one basement.
So tell me how much square feet, what is the square footage on this? Because we are seeing this all the time in our appointments. It's not clear on this. And there are times where you have to ask your sellers, do you have X square footage? Or do you know, have you had an appraisal? Have you, what, because the tax data is a little unclear. So tell me what the square footage is on this.
3,900.
Okay, perfect. 3896. So the building area, sometimes it'll say square footage or above grade, but this one says building area is 1948, okay? And then basement is 1966. That's a very typical garage. How many bays would a 482 be? Is that a 3-car garage or a 2-car garage?
What's the square footage?
482. It's a 2-car garage. Yep. A typical car garage, 2-car garage is like 20 by 20 or 21 by 21. So just seeing that, I already know it's a 2-car garage, and I've never seen this house. And it's 38-ish square feet. And then my lot size is 0.18, okay? So those are numbers that I just want to feel those out. I don't want to filter too much because I'm trying to really understand this area that I'm unfamiliar with, okay? Okay, so hide my map. I only want single family. And let's go back to our map. Are there things in here that maybe are giving me, like these are giving me clues. Just looking at it, I'm like, okay, these houses, these right here, there's something about them, and it's probably a view, that makes them more expensive, okay? 3,900, that's really close to us. 51, I'm not gonna use it with a 3-car garage. 6,000, not gonna use it. Okay, so I have like 1, right? But that's a pretty good active 1. And then these are just giving me information. Older house, bigger house. Oh, that's just a 3-car garage. Okay, So that helps me. Toll Brothers is right there. So that's giving me some good information, right? Okay. So, let's gather our under contract backup and active comps. And I think I want to maybe focus in this area. Okay? So these will give me information. I think that these are saying, yes, 3,800 square feet is about $900,000, right? If I'm seeing this right, like that 1.7, I think they're way overpriced. 3,800 square feet. They've been on the market for 124 days. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So I might redo my map here so that I don't want to filter by size so much, because I want to see what's happening. In this area. All right, thank you. Okay. Okay, so we have 41. I could filter it down with square footage, but I might leave something out. Like if I said 4,300 square feet is my top, and there's a really good comp that's 4,301, I just filtered it out, right? So I just want to look. So I'm going to view my results. Based on the one that's right next door, I would say we're probably not at 600, so I don't even really have to look at that. And based on the one that's active next door, we're probably not 1.7 either, okay? So having it filtered like this actually gives you a lot of information that maybe you wouldn't normally see. So I can see the age over here, and if you need to add columns to your search bar, you can add them over in here. The list view, you can add and take away, or maybe it's in page settings. It is page settings. So that's how you'll add, like, I like to have days on market over here, and you can move them. Oh, you move it over on that thing, but you can move how it's set up. So this is the way that I like it. This is how I see it the best. I don't worry so much about bed and bath count, so I put those over on the side. But my year built, when was my house built? 2020. Yep. So I'm seeing that all of these are all brand new houses, except for this little guy. Okay, so we'll grab him. These are brand new houses, and they're all competition, right? I don't compare to a 2006. I already know I don't. Why wouldn't I compare to a 2006? Yeah, completely different. Okay, here's a 2020. These brand new builds, they give me information in the sense that my competition for this house is at $979, they can get a brand new house. They can get a 3,300 square foot brand new house, and it's under contract. And they can buy it right from the builder, $979. From what you know about new builds, do you think that their final price is $979?
No.
What is that price? That's their base price. Yep. So you can talk to the builder and see what the house is going to cost them if the basement is finished. But that number might be misleading to you. Okay? And so these are things that you're explaining to your seller, where you're like, yes, they could go get a brand new house for $979, but in order to make it look like the model home, they're going to be in another $150,000 to $200,000 with a finished basement, and then it doesn't look like $979. So that's what our solds will give us.
Awesome.
Okay. So this one, what's the problem with this comp right here that you guys can see?
What's the price?
What?
What's the purchase price?
Well, just this one right here. What's the problem with that? Okay, I mean, you don't even know how many bedrooms my house has. What's the problem with this one that I might see? What do you guys think? Yeah, the lot size. The lot size is double my lot size. So I'm going to look at it. I want information, but that if I use it, it will be lower on my list. So do you see kind of what I'm doing? I'm gathering comps and I'm ranking them in my mind where I'm saying, okay, and I don't even know what their kitchens look like, but I assume that if they're built around the same time, they're going to have a similar type kitchen or finish. The 2006 will be different, and maybe even the 2025 will be more desirable. Okay, let's grab these, because look, that one's under contract. That one looks pretty similar to my house, and maybe that's more where we're heading. Okay, look at this, how interesting this is. What happens here? Yeah, you have $160,000 drop right there. They're, yep. So I wouldn't use any of those, because that is probably a little PUD area, and I can discover those more of like how to explain what's happening there. But do you see how this list price, or even the sold price, if I do it by sold price on the solds, how it kind of, it starts painting a picture for you. It's interesting in some of these areas like Holiday or Mill Creek or Sugar House, where the houses are kind of the same, you'll see these drop-offs. You'll see big breaks, and the house size doesn't change that much. Or maybe it changes just a little bit, and you're like, oh, the difference of having a garage is a big deal, or the difference of having an extra 1,000 square feet is a big deal when you're dealing with really small houses. So you'll see these drop-offs, but that's a really prominent one. So I like actually having that right there. Okay, so are there any in here that you're feeling like I missed, I skipped over, that I should use? I'm feeling pretty good about that. So do you see why it doesn't scare me to have 41? Because I can quickly go through those and get 5. And I might use all 5. Okay, this one, under contract, it entered on the 12th. Contract date the 5th. That makes me really happy. That's really similar to ours. It is a 2-story. Talk to me about that. Mona said it's a 2-story.
I personally only compare the same style of homes, like I wouldn't compare a Rambler, which my multi-level or 2-story, because those have more square footage above ground than the Rambler does. It also just a completely different style.
Yeah.
So I like to see, I still wanna see what's out there, so I know, okay, a two-story is going for this, but a Rambler is going for this, like what's more desirable
Yep.
in this neighborhood?
Yep, I love that.
What if it's like in a new community, like all these homes are only 5 years old? You know, like personally, I think that, yeah, like in a okay, Sandy neighborhood where I'm comparing a Rambler versus a tri-level, not gonna do that at all. But I do think that like in a newer neighborhood where the desirability from that buyer pool, like I just wanna be in this neighborhood, it's all fresh, it's all new. Like I think there's a little bit of, if you put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, or in that buyer pool, are they gonna wanna, you know, are they gonna be as, choosy about Rambler versus 2-story as somebody in the buyer pool for a Sandy neighborhood?
Right. Yeah.
I keep comparing if the square, the above ground square footage is similar, then yeah.
Which it is almost exact.
Yeah, it's almost exact.
Yeah.
This one, yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
And we have 3 bedrooms above grade. So So I love that discussion. I love thinking, and that's what you would do, is you would say, okay, seller, this one is a two-story, which some people really want a two-story, so it could be more desirable. But other people, empty nesters or families with little kids, they might want their kids on the same level, right? So maybe then the Rambler is more desirable. So that's hard to quantify, but it is just acknowledging, like, I understand this is different than yours, but it's hard to quantify. It's like I talk about a corner lot. Is a corner lot more desirable? Is it more valuable? Why? Yeah, to who? I have a corner lot. I say it's not more desirable. Like, I almost get hit every time I pull out of my driveway, because everybody just like goes around the corner. So, no, I say no, but maybe somebody's like, well, I like that I don't have another neighbor over on the other side. Or I like that I have a side lot instead of a back lot, or whatever it is. I can enter my garage on the side instead of the front, so.
And normally corner lots are bigger too, so
Yeah.
I can see that part.
Yeah,
the
it,
traffic.
yeah, mine's bigger, but I have 10 feet of, frontage on both sides that is sidewalk and parkway, you know? So, yes. But it is the neighborhood soccer field, so it's good. So that goes to that point, the type of build, the type of house, depending on the area, can make a huge difference. I would say in Sugar House, I would never compare a two-story to a Rambler. But there are, but not very many. That's why I wouldn't compare them. Okay, so I'm gonna keep that one. I like it. I like that it's under contract, that something's moving on it. This one might tell me some good information. What quickly does this tell me? Yep, basement's unfinished, love that. My basement is fully finished. Yep, but not terribly, yeah. And they've had to drop from $950 to $925, okay? Yeah, so always go to your history. This gives you a really good vision of what's happening. So on every single house that I offer on, as a buyer's agent, know what the history of that house looks like. No, understand it, because then when you call and you're not like, hey, so tell me about your house, tell me what your sellers need. You're like, hey, I saw you went under contract in March, and you guys were under contract for 4 days. Tell me about that. Was it a due diligence issue? Now you're coming in with information, right? And then it went to backup, and then they went back on the market. And now their seller is motivated.
Sellers motivated with no price drop, but they're motivated.
Well, there was a $25,000 price drop.
But they dropped.
Oh, yeah, yeah, 2 weeks before.
And 2 weeks later, then they say.
Yep, yep. I know, I saw a motivated seller that dropped the price $1. It was 2.9998 instead of 99. Right.
It's like we have to drop the price, but it's hard. It's like a lot of sellers, like they might be willing to sell at 900, but it's just hard to have that conversation because no one's getting through the door.
Yeah, how as a listing agent, would you direct them on that? Or advise them?
So we had that exact conversation of like, hey, there are people coming through the open house and we're getting some showings, but I said it just how I said it to you guys, like, we're not, I know that you guys are willing to negotiate, but we're not opening up that conversation enough, so we need to adjust the price to bring in more buyers, to bring in that conversation of people.
Love that, love that. Yep,
And now we're at 5:05, so bring in the buyers.
yeah.
They're motivated.
and having those hard conversations of like, where's your bottom line? Where are we really at? So I'm gonna keep this one and take into account that the basement is unfinished, okay? This one I feel like is wildly different than what ours is. It's a 3-car garage, it's 0.31 acres, it's 2,600 square feet above grade. It just feels like the look and feel of it feels like a true 2-story, where this one feels like one of those ramblers that has like the Jack and Jill with the 2 bedrooms upstairs and that's all that's upstairs. That's kind of how that feels. And it is a 3-car garage, so we would make an adjustment for that. But that's my competition. I would say no on that one, okay? Wait, yes, I do. Why are you asking me that? And then Valley View, this one's been active for 44 days. This one has a finished basement. So this one to me is a really good comp and a really good indicator of what my house is not worth. It's 2 doors up from me. Yeah. So I look at this and I say, hey, Mr. Seller, you want to sell your house quickly. They've been sitting on the market for 44 days. I'm going to talk to this agent. What has your response been? What kind of showings are you getting? They're in the same, on the same side of the street of this house, these houses that have had basement issues. This one didn't have a basement issue, but that will also be an asterisk on my house. Like the warranty is now longer, but it still is an asterisk. So I can confidently go to my sellers and say 975 feels like it's high, right? But then this guy at 925 they might be right on, but we have a finished basement. So I'm probably in my mind between this 859 makes me a little nervous, right? So I'm gonna talk to this one too. But I would say we're probably listing between 925 and 975. Do you see how now in my mind, I don't have exact numbers, but I'm formulating a conversation and a reasoning of why I'm even using these comps. I haven't even seen their kitchens yet. I don't know if this kitchen is my favorite or if the other one's my favorite or if they did upgraded carpet. I don't know that yet, right? But the market with buyers, it responds a little bit to those things, but when you're comparing pretty much apples to apples, and we've got a $50,000 range right now, there might be things that push us up over the top or that we can market a little bit more or a little bit better, but it's not going to change the value all that much, right? It'll change it a little bit, but not all that much. Like this one has a kitchen, mine has a kitchen, they're about 5 years old. They're going to be pretty similar, right? Okay, and then this guy, probably wouldn't use it. Yeah, lot size is huge, it's very grand, 3-car garage, the basement's finished. It gives me a good feeling because it's like, well, they listed for over $1 million, so that's nice. That's $257 a square, and we're $246 there. And again, that's another guide, $235. So we're kind of in that realm. So I feel really comfortable. Do you guys feel good with these comps? Okay, so I would keep these comps.
Can you just touch on, price per square foot?
Yes, great question. So when would price per square foot, because we did hear this a lot in our interviews, when would price per square foot be a really strong argument for price? Condo, townhome, yep. Because, why?
That's all the value is in there.
Uh-huh.
There's no value in the, there's no yard, there's no
Yeah,
land.
there's no
lot size.
land. Yeah, and getting townhomes that are similar HOA prices are important on that. And amenities, so that you're kind of in the same realm, that would be good. But price per square foot on that is like, hey, like this end townhome is 50 square feet bigger than our townhome that's also on the end, but they had added an extra bonus closet or whatever when they were doing the build. You kind of know the price per each square foot in those micro units, right? But what's the problem on single family using a price per square foot? Mhm. Yeah, or the finished basement. Yeah, so you'll see the price per square foot go down with an unfinished basement, and then you'll see the price per square foot go up with a bigger lot size. But you're like, but the house is the exact same size. So just having that knowledge and being able to guide your sellers on that, because that was a guide that we used a long time ago as like the only guide, but it is another tool in our toolbox, okay? So I don't ignore it. I like to have it. I like to see that we're kind of in line, especially when the lot sizes are pretty similar. So 235 on this one, 246, and it's a finished basement. And then, oh wait, where's our unfinished basement? Oh, it's the 235. 235, and then this guy is 241. So 240, 235, 241, 246. Where am I probably going to land? Yeah, I'm gonna land between 235 and 241.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna land right in there. So if I come up with these are all my checks on myself. If I come up with a value and the price per square foot is 250, am I wildly overpriced? Yes, I am. And not that I have to price it for the price per square foot, but the buyers will feel that. They're like, wow,
It's an indicator.
yeah, this is a lot more expensive for what I'm getting than what I'm getting over here. So use it as a tool and allow it to just be a tool for you. Okay, so a cloud CMA, this will be in our next class, but I like to use cloud CMA because the presentation is really lovely.
Julie, I might be jumping way ahead, but why are we not holding goals?
Because I want to be able to know the time frame of the solds. So if I put 90 days back, or if I put 160 days back, or 180, and the active is 200 days old, it will take that active out. Does that make sense? So I do my active under contract backups separately, and I don't do a time frame on it, and then I do solds separately. Great question.
I haven't gotten to your sold.
Yep, yep. On your cloud CMA, just so you don't ever miss square footage, it will give you the wrong square footage. So we were 3846 or something. I'm just gonna throw it in there. And I think we're 5 bedrooms. I can't remember.
Bathrooms, if it's only like a half bath, do you do 2.5?
Nope.
Or are you still just 3?
So on appraisals now, the bathroom count is how many toilets, basically. Toilets and sinks. So a half bath is still a bathroom, even though the value to the buyer will be different. It still is just counting, this has 3 bathrooms in it. Yeah, great question. Okay, so this is where I'll put this is where I'm gonna put my MLS numbers, okay? So I've just grabbed my comps. I'm really happy with them. I have 3 here that feel really good. I could use that $1 million one, but I don't really feel like it doesn't give me any talking points to my client. And maybe if I feel like I need to go back once I do solds, then I could. Okay, any questions up to here? These are really good questions, by the way. Okay, so then let's go into solds. I have 57. I want to see what's happening, and this is a year. The automatic time frame is 365 days unless you change that. I've asked Tanya for help on a couple of listings, and she's sent me listings that are comps that are 2 years old, just for me to understand what's happening. She's like, well, this one was very similar and it sold 2 years ago, and the market has moved a little bit, and and so you're really understanding. So if there are questions about a house that you're trying to list and it's stumping you, start expanding a little bit. Expand your days, expand your area, get to know it a little bit more, and see how you need to break it down so that you understand that property. There was one that I did that was a farm, and it was surrounded by half-acre brand new builds, and this was a brand new build. And then it had 4 acres in the middle of all these like half-acre lots. And so how I broke it down was the house was on about a half an acre. So we broke that down, and then we did a value for the land, and we tried to get a list price based on that. So expand your mind. It won't just be like there's an exact house that is this house. Start expanding yourself and learning what the market is telling you. Okay, I would say, after having gone through it, would you agree with me that maybe these comps aren't as comparable? That's what I would say. I would say that I'm really happy just being up in my little canyon. Okay? So even though an appraiser could go out a mile, my advice to my sellers or to my buyers is that they're competing. They could get other things outside, but we're competing with these houses right here. So different areas will tell you different things. Like in Sugar House, would you feel comfortable crossing 7th East and comparing houses on the west side of 7th to the east side of 7th? I would not feel comfortable with that. Yeah, that is a one line of demarcation.
It's so interesting to pull them into a CMA and to say, okay, you can see, like, I just ran CMA on a really cute spot in South Salt Lake where it's right on the other side of 7th. Like, it is 610 east. So it's not even, it's
Your address is so unfortunate.
and it's just so interesting to look at that and say, okay, everything right here in this pocket on this side is selling with a 5 in front of it. Everything in this block is selling with a 6 in front of it.
Yep.
That is how it is. We are not gonna be able to break 6 as far as our list price goes, so.
Yeah, there you go.
You just are not.
And to show them.
To show them, so included in there, you have to understand
Yeah.
what you're looking at. And
Yeah.
you have to say, okay, this is a comp in terms of square footage and all of the data, but as far as the demarcation line, that street, you have to take into consideration, like, how does this change the number that we're entering the market?
Yep, yep. So I do include in my CMA, I will include comps that I know that they've seen, or I know, like, if it's like a next door neighbor, I'll put it in there, because then they get to see the inside of the house that's sold, that maybe they never saw or something. I'll put it in there, and if I know that it doesn't compare, but it also helps our decision of where our list price is, I might put it in there for information of like, hey, I know that your next door neighbor sold, and he has a basketball court in the basement. Did you know that? You know, like, that made a difference on how much he sold for. So I will put those in. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back a year. I feel comfortable with houses from a year ago. I may even want a little bit farther. This is where you would change your sold date, or you can change your number of days back. But for all intents and purposes, for right now, I have 34 comps, and I'm just going to go back a year, okay? Again, we'll probably have some that we throw out, like the 2 million. I already know that if I priced it at how much per square foot, yeah, 370 per square, I'm gonna be way off. So this one, I like to sort it by the sold price instead of the list price, because that helps me a little bit. So I'll probably be right in here. This guy's really nice. This guy's pretty nice. That one scares me. Why does that scare me? The lot's bigger, the price per square foot is $204. So do you see these price per square foot? Okay, they're much lower. So I want to know why. Maybe they sold in December, November, all right, that gives me some kind of answer, right? Okay. And is it all going to just shake out really beautifully every time, where you're like, this for sure is your house number? Like, I know that this is how much your house is gonna sell for. No. I have one going live next week if anybody wants to help me on it. And it's not shaken out. Okay. I'm gonna grab those and I'm gonna look more closely at these. Because I know that I'm not over $1 million, right? This one, that one feels curious to me. I think it's because it's a brand new build and they probably have the upgrades in there. We could grab it if we want. You gonna die? Just go. Just go. Sorry.
I was shocked at the price point.
Shocking. Okay. Okay. So this one has an unfinished basement. That gives me a little sigh of relief. Okay. This one, fully finished basement. I think we could kind of compare it. It sold last June. It went on the market in May, which is my same exact market that I'm going to market. $859. It kind of feels similar. It's a little bit bigger. It doesn't make me super happy, but, oh, it's to be built. Yeah, I'm not understanding that. Yeah. Nah. I don't get that. What? What was that? Thank you. We just talked to the buyers. Okay. So was it from the builder? Was it from Toll Brothers? Okay. Wow, they got a deal. Okay, we're gonna keep it then. This one's under construction, so also a new one. This one looks really similar to the other one. $870. Okay. Ooh, I like that it sold this year. Unfinished basement. It's bigger than ours. Our price per square is lower than what those actives are showing me, right? It's a 3-car garage. $281 a square. This is a brand new finished basement from the builder. You guys.
So I think what I'm taking from this right now, and it's always so interesting to have Julie come in and talk about CMA stuff, it's just like, it takes time. Like, it takes hours to run a really, really, really nice CMA. Even if you are been in the industry give yourself ample amounts of time in order to make sure that you are presenting the right information, that you understand the right information.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
yeah,
like it's just a process of being like, okay, unfinished basement, but a 3-car garage and a little bit bigger, and you know, like this is the conversation that you're literally having with yourself,
mhm.
or you know, with one of us to ask for support. But
Yeah, and I think that, like, Michael's really good because he knows his area inside and out, but I would argue that he still looks at comps. I mean, he does, he looks at them every single day, he knows exactly what's selling. He knows what's happening. And so when a buyer or a seller comes to me and just says, so what do you think my house is worth? Really, like,
People do that all the time.
they do.
I'm a new agent and people have already done that to me.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
all the time. And then I'll say, well, I could throw a number out, but if you're serious about it, I'd love to talk to you about it and give you some real information, because the nuances of your house compared to the other ones in your neighborhood really make a difference.
yeah,
And they
it's
do.
it's like the, when you're a new agent and somebody says that to you, what's my house worth, right? It's the response from any of us, whether you just got your license yesterday or you've been in the industry for 20 years, it's always communicate the complexity but deliver the simplicity. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like, I would love to be able to just slap a number on it. There is so much complexity that goes into figuring this out. It actually take me at least a couple hours to really dive in and do the research. And when you
Yeah.
say it like that, and then say, if you're serious, I'd love to actually come back and, you know, kind of walk you through this. And they're like, oh, whoa, I had no idea. I thought, you know.
I thought you could just
I
be
thought you
like 400, 800,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
I know.
I did that to you, Julie, with my Magna listing. I was like, look at these pictures, tell me what it's worth.
And luckily, I had just sold a Magna house, or, yeah, right by there. So I kind of was familiar with
But
it.
yeah, I mean, Michael knows his stuff because he transacts in the same areas over and over and over and
But he's
over
watching the
again.
data.
Yes, he's watching, he's
Mhm.
studying it, he's learning it, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And for the vast majority of us in the room, you're gonna be asked to do a CMA on a townhome in Draper, and then a single family in Bountiful, and you know what I mean? Like, you're
Yep.
gonna ask to be the expert on these things in so many different areas.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say that this house, and obviously we didn't go through all of the solds, but did it give you an idea of maybe the complexity even in a new build area that's like, well, these houses are only like 5 years old, 5, 6, 7 years old. There's still some complex little issues that the buyers coming in, and as a listing agent, I always want to put my sellers into the shoes of the buyers, where I say, they have, you know, $950,000 to spend on a house. Why would they spend it on your house?
Yeah.
How are we going to get those dollars into your house? How are we going to get those buyers to see your house as valuable that they want to put the dollars there instead of just around the corner or on the other side of the freeway? Like, what about your house in your area is driving the market there? And so starting to answer some of those questions for yourself will help you to pull the right comps to actually get you the right value, instead of, like, on some of our interviews, we would give the same house, and I kind of had a panic a little bit, because I was like, if I was really the seller and I just had 3 different agents come in, and one of them was so sure at 506 or whatever, and one of them was like, oh no, you can sell this for 650. What? You know, like, I want an understanding. And I'm not saying that the 506 was wrong or the 650 or whatever those numbers were are wrong, but if you can give your sellers some standing on and some grounding on what they're listing their house on and why they're asking that price, because there's other aspects that we're taking into account: how quickly they want to sell, how, like, if they're buying another house, like, there are different aspects that we're taking into account with our sellers, that we're like, okay, if you want this outcome, then our strategy will be this. And your house value changes depending on the strategy. So,
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I just wanna thank you, Julie.
Yeah,
so
of course.
much, so much. I just kinda wanna give you guys a little sneak peek into what it is, let me come over here so the camera, our stream can see us, into like what it is that we learned, like I said at the beginning, we learned so much from the interviews, these value proposition tests, right? And we're letting all of that stuff that we learned in this direct us to create the next SOP, right? And so this right here is an example of a CMA. I actually have a really, like a cheap but nice binder that I'm going to get, and I'm gonna package this in a really nice binder with sheet protectors and everything in it. I also, you guys, I literally just cut a sticky note in half and like tabbed it all out. But I got I ordered some really, like, again, cheap but nice tabs, and I'm gonna explore what it looks like to actually present a CMA, not in like a, here's a bunch of these papers, cause we saw a
Yeah,
bunch
like,
of that
good luck.
too. Like, here you go, here's your CMA, you know, like, we're,
All of that, including you.
seriously, sometimes in some of these interviews, like, I left being like, wait, what? You know what I mean? So, to Julie's point, like, we as a team have a duty to make sure, like, we are the number one team in this marketplace. We are the number one team within our brokerage. Like, you have so much support, and you have all of the tools at your disposal to make sure that you are presenting the most professional, best possible way ever. So we're exploring, and what we're, like I said at the beginning, like where we're going is creating an SOP for your page order, how you say what you're saying. Right now, obviously, we're just building the foundations that you know that you're getting the right comps first and foremost.
Right.
Then next week, what we're gonna do is we're gonna explore Cloud CMA itself, and let me make sure I'm getting this right. We're gonna explore Cloud CMA itself. Yeah, we're gonna essentially take these MLS numbers, upload them into Cloud CMA, run it through there, then we'll deep dive into, this is a really interesting one. There is 2 different pages. Okay, Cloud CMA will pull up 2 different pages. This one right here says that the average list to sold price, on the surface level, it says list to sold price, 98.54%. This page, same CMA, says 99.46%. Okay, so again, 98.5, 99.5.
What's
What's
that
the
other
difference?
number? What does that other number say?
This one is
Oh,
the
list to sold.
original, I'm sorry,
Oh.
this one is the, after a price drop, it sells at
Oh.
99.4%. This one is the original list price. So it's being able to understand, I was chatting with people this morning about like, can you read the graph? Can you read the information? And how are you using this in your CMA to make people go, okay, I'm incentivized now to price drop, right? Because I'm gonna get 99%, like you can use that as a tool. This is really helpful for if you know you're going into a listing appointment where they're gonna want to overprice a little bit, you showcase both of these. You know what I mean? So it's really, really critically important that we understand what these pages are saying rather than just being like, okay, I use Cloud CMA and I print it off and I go sit down and I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I walk through it and I'm like, well, actually, so, you know
That's
what I
a
mean?
surprising number to me.
Yeah, totally. So
Or like
that's
the
what we're
days on
creating.
market is a
Yeah.
surprising number sometimes, where if you've actually analyzed the area, maybe the days on market is 70, but for those homes, it
Yes.
was 32, and you're like, well, normally this area sells for 70 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it might be a price thing, like the house up in the Cove,
Totally.
I did days on market for homes over 1.5 million. How long should we expect to be on the market? and it was 50 days. And so my sellers were like, okay, we expect 50 days to be on the market at this
Mhm.
price.
Yeah,
How long
So-
were you guys on one?
4.
4 days, woo! Okay, but.
Good timing.
There's so much that goes into this. It's really hard to make CMAs like this really sexy, fun, exciting thing, but they are so critically important to your understanding, your ability to retain, get clients, you know what I mean, get referrals from those people, and just build your business. So please, again, like, pay attention to these are always gonna be Thursdays at 11 a.m. We're building some really, really, really solid foundations. So we'll see you next week.
I would also say on this, just before we finish, while you're, and you kind of saw me do this, while you are getting your comps, you are building your argument already,
Yeah.
right? I'm already building what I'm saying and how I'm speaking to my sellers as I'm answering my own questions. And the question I ask myself over and over and over and over and over again in every aspect of my life is, so what?
So what?
So what? Like, so what? It was 98% of the list price. Answer that question for yourself, so that when your sellers say, well, like, how often does it sell for less than list price? Well,
Right.
98% of the time.
Yep.
Or whatever, like, they sell for
Exactly.
98% of the list price, or whatever.
Yep.
And so, just answering those questions for yourself, so what, why does this matter? Why should I even show them this comp? Why does it matter where they're located? Why does it matter if it's a year out or 90 days or whatever? Answer that so what question in your mind.
Yep.
So, there you go.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you,